a few minutes here for people to jump on. In the meantime, if you have any colleagues or friends that you think would benefit from attending the session or getting a recording of it later on, I just did drop the sign up or the register link for this webinar in the chat. So feel free to copy and share that as you see fit. Like I said, we'll just give a minute or here for people to jump on to join the webinar.
Were you supposed to have the joke, or was this mine?
All right, so we will go ahead and get started here. Welcome everyone to talk about Nutshell SMS and what's to come, how to get started, how to use it. For those that might have to jump off early, a recording will get sent to you via email from Demio, our webinar platform. Feel free to answer any or ask any questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them throughout or after during our Q&A session. And then to introduce ourselves, I'm Will Gordon, Director of Marketing here at Nutshell, and I'm joined alongside with Andy, our CEO, and we're here to talk about SMS. Andy, how did we get to a place where we got SMS here in Nutshell?
Yeah, well, it's an exciting day for us. We started building Nutshell 14 years ago, and part of the original vision and founding principle was having a CRM that works where you work. And so when we launched, that meant things like having an iPhone app. And as we grew, that meant adding things like support for Google Workspaces and Google Apps and Office 365. And so any place that you are interacting with your contacts, with your prospects, we want Nutshell to be there with you. And so over time, as the way we interact with one another has evolved, Nutshell has worked to keep up and stay ahead of the curve there. So an example of that was we added Zoom last year. And so when you are Zooming with your prospects, those conversations can be brought into Nutshell automatically. And as the world develops and everyone is using phones, SMS is increasingly where sales conversations happen. If anyone here has bought a car in the last couple of years, you probably chatted with your sales rep at the dealer through a SMS. But even in the sort of the B2B world, we're seeing more and more demand and more customers looking to be able to have conversations with their prospects, with their customers in SMS. And so we want Nutshell, which is ultimately the place where you're storing and centralizing all of your sales conversations, to be where you are working, even if that is SMS.
Right on, Andy. And I know we've had this in beta for quite a while, so we're excited to get through this agenda today and inform all the customers joining or that have signed up and can't join. But on today's agenda, we're going to go over what is Nutshell SMS, how you can send text messages directly from Nutshell, how you can access and view all of your active or inactive text threads that you've had in Nutshell, reassigning text, getting notifications, what opt-outs are, using SMS automation, and then how to get started with using text message and SMS inside of Nutshell. So Andy, in a nutshell, pun intended, what can you do with SMS inside of Nutshell?
All right. Well, to start, I guess I should say we are using SMS and text interchangeably here. Those are the same idea as far as Nutshell is concerned here. As you all probably know, SMS was sort of the starting point, and this has grown into iMessage and WhatsApp and that sort of thing. So those are all areas that we're investing in and looking into. But when we start today, we're talking about the basic sort of green bubble texting that you do in your iPhone and that sort of thing. And again, this is day one for Nutshell SMS. There's a lot of ways that our customers are seeking to use SMS to reach out to their prospects. And here's where we're starting, and we'll talk a little bit about where we're going. So where we are working today is being able to have one-on-one conversations with your contacts. There is a person sitting on one end in Nutshell, that's you, that's your sales team, and then you have your prospects on the other end who are receiving text messages. So you are using Nutshell, you're using the Nutshell web app to pull open your leads, and you can initiate a one-on-one text conversation, which really presents itself in the form of a thread with any of your Nutshell contacts, any of your Nutshell leads. And that's really at the core of it, is being able to have a text conversation with a prospect, and then, to really help start those conversations, we include the ability to sort of automate that initial outreach. So say a lead comes in, maybe they fill out a form on your website, they include their phone number. You can start that text conversation with an automated message so that, you can get make that early contact, your prospect replies, and then you take over from the SMS thread from there. And we'll talk about that automation in a bit.
Great. And Andy, from what I understand, we're not the only CRM that has SMS capabilities, but a lot of those other CRMs on the market offer this as an integration where you have to have, one more bill, one more login, one more email access, whatever. For us, this is a native built within Nutshell, no integration needed, correct?
That's exactly right. Yep. So, in a lot of cases where we've started a feature or we've begun by maybe integrating with a product, Nutshell Campaigns, our email marketing tool, started as an integration with MailChimp or Constant Contact. But with Nutshell SMS, we built this as a direct capability from day one. So we had customers who were using things like Ring Central or Vonage to kind of try to bridge the gap. But instead of starting with the integration, we kind of just felt like this type of technology to get the user experience that we think is necessary and that's useful here. This is directly built into Nutshell, and you are ultimately texting from a phone number that is connected to your Nutshell account.
Awesome. And with everything being inside of Nutshell, how does actually someone send a text from within the current interface?
Yep. So basically anywhere where we think that you're already kind of preparing to connect to your prospect. So where you might already be sending an email, we've included the ability to send a text. So at the top of Nutshell timelines, which are kind of our Facebook newsfeed style, all-in-one 360-degree view into what you are saying to your prospects and what they're saying to you, in the same place that you might send an email or send a note, there is now a send a text button right alongside of that. And in fact, that button is in our customers' Nutshell accounts today to sort of start the enrollment process. You can also do this from the sidebar. So in the sort of contact sidebar where we show email address and phone number, in the same place that you might click a phone number to start a phone call, there's now a send a text button. And of course, the third way to send a text, like I mentioned earlier, is via an automation. And that might be when a lead comes in automatically in your sales process. You might say, at this stage, I want to be able to send a text message that says X.
Cool. And then also there's a centralized place where all of your text messages can go to. So not just on a person page or in that sidebar. Can you tell us more about that centralized location?
Yep, exactly. So new top-level navigation in the sidebar for our Nutshell customers who are on the webcast today. You've probably already seen this, but the new SMS sidebar item is sort of your hub, your inbox for SMS conversations. So you might start a thread by looking at a lead page or looking at a contact page. That SMS navigation is where you're going to sort of manage and organize all of those threads. And we've done a little bit of structuring into different states or topics or ways of organizing your text thread. So just to give a little bit of an overview of those, open, it's kind of obvious. These are the threads that are ongoing. Waiting for reply, we kind of pull out what we think might be the most urgent and timely SMS threads. So if a prospect has replied to you, but you didn't get back to them, we put those into the waiting for your reply section. So that's probably the place to begin when you get started. Snoozed is kind of the opposite side of that. Maybe you've got a prospect and you're not sure if they're going to get back to you anytime soon. You might send that message and then you might snooze it. And this is just going to kind of go off in the background. It's not an open thread that you have anything to deal with, but maybe they're going to turn on their phone the next day and reply to you. It's a way of sort of putting a thread into the background, waiting for a reply. Scheduled is where you're going to find all of your upcoming messages that are going to be sent through sales automation. So at a particular stage in your sales process, if a text message is going to be sent, you'll see that upcoming thread in your scheduled section. And finally, closed and failed to send. These are cases where you're done with the thread, or maybe there was some sort of problem. You tried to text a number that can't receive text. That's where those failed to send. That's how those are organized.
And Andy, as far as the text message threads goes, I know there's some Nutshell users that are solopreneurs or just working by themselves. There's other Nutshell users that are teams of 50, 60 plus. Who can see the text message threads inside your inbox?
Yep. So as an administrator, you'll kind of see the screenshot that's on the slide here. You'll see that you can see different threads that might be owned by different members of your team. So as an admin, you can see everybody's threads. But if you are not an admin user, you're just going to see the threads that are assigned to you. And then similarly, if you are have the ability to view a particular lead or to view a person, you're going to see the threads that the historic threads that were with that lead or with that person in the history of that timeline. So timelines just sort of use the existing permission structure that has always existed in Nutshell. So if someone on your team is able to see a person or to see a lead, they'll be able to see the timeline and they'll be able to see the messages that were sent to them. But within the SMS inbox, it's administrators that kind of have that super view into all assigned threads versus non-administrators just see the threads that are assigned to them.
Awesome. And of course, this being the centralized place for SMS, Nutshell currently has the capabilities to kind of like wrap up all communications, activities that a customer or a lead might partake. Will SMS also have the experience to exist like on that customer timeline and that communication history?
That's exactly right. I guess I kind of got ahead of myself there, but that's exactly I think our next slide might even mention that one. So when there's an open thread, you'll see that open thread at the top of a timeline. And that might show that you have this ongoing conversation with somebody. And then if the thread has been closed, you've said, okay, I've had this conversation with the prospect, the entirety of that text message is wrapped into a singular thread. And so we did this way. You don't sort of pollute a Nutshell timeline with all of your sort of individual small form text messages. We wrap it all up into that thread that does appear on the timeline.
Awesome. And I know Nutshell, one of the features that people love about Nutshell is the notifications feature. How do notifications then work for SMS as well?
Yep. So you'll be notified when a recipient opts out. But I guess more importantly, when a thread is assigned to you, you will receive a notification. So maybe a message is happening and you want to hand it off to a teammate, you can reassign a text thread. But the main point of this is when you get a reply to a thread that's assigned to you, you're going to be notified of that immediately. So you're having this ongoing conversation. Maybe you close your laptop, you'll get a notification that says someone has replied to one of your assigned threads.
Cool. And I know another important feature of SMS, and probably everybody on this webinar has received some of these like marketing or sales SMSs where you have to reply stop to stop them from sending to you, or maybe instead of stop, you use some more colorful language to get them to stop sending to you. But what is, opt out mean, or what does it mean being on the sender side of things rather than the receiving side of things?
Yeah, so this is really important. And, when we launched Nutshell Campaigns, our email marketing product, we talked a lot about deliverability and trust and reputation. And those same principles continue through to Nutshell SMS. So we all know, at least our US attendees know what it's like to get a lot of text messages and keeping those under control. And, just like email unsubscribes are something that Nutshell takes care of for you, opting out is something that Nutshell takes care of for SMSs. So when someone receives a message and they reply stop, that is automatically, they would be automatically opted out from any other outreach from you. That's a requirement to just be a good citizen on the sort of SMS carrier platforms. So when that happens to one of your prospects, you're not going to be able to continue a thread there, unfortunately, but that's kind of for the good of everyone and for the good of your ability to continue to text your prospects that do want to hear from you. So Nutshell takes care of all of the opt-outs.
And Andy, a question: if someone does agree to receive text messages, then opts out, can they agree again later on? Is that really the only other way that you'd be able to text that customer or lead again?
Yes, at the moment, the only way for someone to re-opt back in is to actually have them text a number and re-opt back in. So that would be the way to get back in. Unfortunately, we can't just go in and un-opt out somebody. That's a restriction that's imposed by our infrastructure provider. So it would be up to the person that you're texting with to re-opt in with a start message.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. And in just a few minutes, we will be getting through a product walkthrough that we've pre-recorded just to kind of show you a little bit more of how the setup works, how the usage works and everything. But before we do, there's two more features we do want to talk about. One is the SMS automations, and then also permissions as far as like who is allowed to use the SMS feature inside of Nutshell. So Andy, can you touch on automations quickly?
Yep, exactly. So SMS automation on the sales automation board, and I might be using a little bit of internal lingo there, but if you go to your Nutshell pipeline and sort of present it in the view where you can see all of your pages organized vertically, that's what we call our sales automation board. And it's where you define your task automations, your lead assignment rules, your stage goals. There's a new section inside of our sales automation board that lets you configure SMS automation so that when a lead enters a particular stage, you can initiate a text outreach to that prospect. And you can even choose the timing of that. So maybe a half an hour after they fill out a form on your website, a text automatically starts there. And so that's configured from the sales automation board. And like I mentioned earlier, you can actually see those queued up messages in your scheduled folder in your inbox.
Thank you.
And then rolling right into SMS permissions. So this is an expanded area of sort of how Nutshell organizes permissions. So it might be that you have a team of, say, 10 users, but you only want 3 of them to be able to use the SMS feature. The way that this is done is with a new section on the user profile page called licensing. So you're going to go to your Nutshell users and teams page. You're going to see your entire team, open a user, and you can give them an SMS license. And by giving them an SMS license, then they have the ability to access the SMS inbox. They have the ability to send text messages, and they have the ability to be assigned text threads. So really think of it as you're choosing a specific sort of subset of your team that has permission to use your SMS capabilities.
Awesome. Cool. Well, let's take a quick break to jump through about a 3-minute video walkthrough. The video will be available in the future too. It won't be as quickly readily available in your inbox as the recording of this webinar, but we will be uploading it to YouTube sometime in the future. So let's shift over there and we'll come back to the presentation in just a moment.
Hi there, and welcome to our quick guide to setting up and using Nutshell SMS. Integrating text messaging with your CRM is a game changer for staying in touch with your leads and clients. So let's dive in. First things first, an admin in your Nutshell account will need to complete a one-time enrollment process to start using Nutshell SMS. This process is required by U.S. cell phone carriers to prevent spam and phishing activity. The enrollment form asks for information like company and brand information, texting campaign information, some sample text messages, and what you might include in your texts. Next, you'll be able to choose your company-wide phone number and submit your enrollment form. Approval from our infrastructure provider may take a couple of weeks, but our team will be in touch if anything is needed from you or if you have any questions. Once your company has been approved for SMS, you'll need to enable SMS permissions for your team. Navigate to the Users and Teams page in your company settings and check the box for the roles you want to have permission to send text messages. Now you're ready to send your first text. To send a text, click on the Send a Text button on the Timeline Creator or in the sidebar on any person, lead, or company page. All you have to do is type your message and click Send. And your message sent. Recipients will be able to respond to your message directly from their cell phone. And you'll see the message appear in Nutshell where you can continue the conversation. Text threads will appear in the contacts timeline, where the most recent messages will stay pinned at the top, just like pinned notes. From there, you can click into the thread to pick up where you left off. Your SMS inbox is the central hub for viewing and managing your team's texts. Admins can see all text threads and filter down by assignee or by the thread state: open, needs reply, scheduled, snoozed, closed, or failed to send. When you're opened to a text thread, you can change the thread's assignee by clicking on their Nutshell icon and selecting a different team member. You can also choose to permanently close a thread from here. Want to leverage text message automation as part of your sales or onboarding process? Open any of your pipelines and scroll down to Text Automations, where you can set up the text you want to send, choose when to send it, and who it should send from. Now every lead or customer who enters the pipeline stage will receive your message.
Awesome. Continuing on, I know one of the key features that Jewel talked about in that video was the enrollment process. So Andy, how does someone get set up with Nutshell SMS?
All right, so yeah, this is going to be really important. I guess I'm going to start on the second side of this. Well, let's actually start with the first section of this slide, which is how Nutshell is charging for this feature. So this is an add-on feature. Your team will need to purchase the Nutshell SMS add-on. And you'll purchase it in the number of seats for the users who will be using it. So going back to the example, maybe you have a team of 15 who's using Nutshell, but only 5 need access to SMS. You'll only need to pay for those 5 users that are using SMS. And so this is a new type of model for us, in that you're purchasing licenses that are only used for a subset of your team. Try to make that work out well and give our customers flexibility there. So that's $16 per user who has an SMS license there. But to get started, let's talk enrollment for a minute here. So this is a somewhat lengthy form that you'll find inside of the Nutshell product. So under that SMS inbox, you'll see a setup section, and this is where we have a form where you'll need to provide some details on your business to start using SMS. And these are rules and data that the cell phone carriers have required to be able to participate in the SMS network. So it's unfortunately not a requirement of Nutshell, but a requirement of the carriers to sort of be a good neighbor and to access this network. So right now, we are sort of accepting enrollments in the US and Canada. We want to sort of learn on those systems before we expand more globally. One of the questions in this enrollment form, and the very first question, is your company name and your EIN. And I can tell you from our beta experience that you've got to have your exact EIN with the hyphenation correct and the exact legal name that is on your IRS paperwork. So if your company is Nutshell, Inc., period, make sure you provide that exact same company name that you have registered with the IRS when you provide your EIN on this form. This form is going to be sent to our infrastructure provider for sort of an approval here. And one of the other sections in this enrollment process is a little bit of information on how you are accepting opt-ins and opt-outs. And to participate in this process, you will need a privacy policy on your website. We have some instructions in this form for what that privacy policy needs to say. It's kind of the stuff that you've probably heard commercials before, but you'll need a little bit of a copy that says, that you're not going to redistribute the phone numbers that you're collecting, and that messaging and data rates apply. I don't know who is still paying by the text message nowadays, but we still have to tell the world that those messaging and data rates apply. So take a look at the print on that form and make sure you've got a privacy policy that aligns with the requirements of the SMS infrastructure here. And then I'll also just give the caveat that there's either outright restrictions for certain industries. Those might be industries that have age restrictions like alcohol. And then there's additional requirements for industries like lending to ensure that you're not opening up to fraud or phishing there. So do your best to fill out this enrollment form. And what's going to happen after you submit it is we're going to submit this to our infrastructure provider, but we also sort of work through a white glove kind of process, watching each one of those enrollments. If there's a failure that happens, sometimes it happens as quickly as an hour or two after submission. We can work with you to correct that. Sometimes it takes a couple of days to hear back on that process. So that's really the first step to get started with SMS, is that enrollment form.
Cool. And anything else you wanted to cover on enrollment and getting started, Andy?
I don't think, well, you know what, I guess, there's a bullet in here about the enrollment process that I think might help to answer some of the questions in the chat to talk about how this is connected and how your team shares this account. So when you set up Nutshell SMS and you go through this enrollment process, what is going to happen at the very end, after your campaign, your brand has been accepted, the final step in the process is choosing a phone number. You're going to provide your area code or a local area code that's meaningful to your recipient, so that when texts are sent, the number that it's coming from looks familiar to you. We're going to have a single SMS phone number attached to your Nutshell account. So all of the conversations that you have with your prospects are coming from a single phone number, even if you have multiple agents using it. And that's why threads are assigned to separate agents. So for instance, Nutshell sales team, we have Jared and we have Victoria. Jared and Victoria in our account use the same number, but Jared has some leads and some threads that are assigned to him. Victoria has leads and threads which are assigned to her. So those are coming through the same phone number. To our customers, they just see a singular Nutshell phone number. But behind the keyboard, those threads are sort of split by their assignee. So that's how Nutshell organizes all of your text threads behind a single company phone number. And that's going to be the final step of your enrollment process, is taking your area code, getting that phone number, and then you can begin having conversations with your prospects.
So Andy, to summarize that, essentially, like if you are texting a lead or receiving a text from a lead, if you are the assignee on that lead, it'll auto assign that text thread to you instead of someone else on your team.
That's exactly right. And if you start the text thread, it starts assigned to you.
Perfect. So moving forward, we do have some great questions in the chat. Please keep them coming. I'm going to steal the spotlight just very quickly and ask my own first question first. This is obviously, like you had mentioned in the very beginnings, this is our first dabble into SMS inside of Nutshell. What else do we have planned down the pipeline as far as utilizing SMS inside of Nutshell?
Yeah, so a couple of areas that we're pursuing. I guess the first thing I should say is we're going to be eager to hear feedback from our early adopter customers and from the customers who get up and running over the next couple of weeks here, and use that to steer how we can make this capability better. So the feedback and the questions here are all very helpful to us. We've had a number of customers in beta already who have helped steer us into this initial launch here. So that's one area that we'll be focusing on is based on our customer feedback. But where we're also developing more investment in SMS is one-to-many broadcasts. So it's one thing for a sales rep to sort of initiate a conversation with a lead that maybe filled out a form on the website, but maybe you've got a collection of prospects and you want to sort of provide a mass notification to them, or start a conversation in bulk. And so just like Nutshell Campaigns allows you to initiate sort of an outgoing email drip sequence or an outbound broadcast, we are building that same capability into SMS. So this initial launch and what we're talking about today, this is one-to-one. What we're developing is one-to-many. And the other area that we're actively developing is the ability to sort of accept inbound messages from your website. So maybe you would actually want to publish your company's phone number, your Nutshell SMS phone number on your website so that you can receive text and start an inbound conversation that way, and actually triage those inbound conversations, assign them to the right team, turn those inbound messages into leads. So instead of you texting first, your prospects text you first. That's the next thing that we're working to develop.
Awesome. Now, jumping into the chat here, I'll do my best to serve you up some good ones, Andy. This one's from Barry. If text is anywhere where there is email, can it be used for a scheduling reminder? I assume this would be like you have an appointment, just reminder, show up for your appointment, whether in person or online. And then is there a way to have a contact and or lead select the best way to contact them? Like, probably see this on forms you fill out all the time. Like, how do you prefer to be contacted? Are there ways to do that inside of Nutshell?
Not automatically. That's great feedback for something that we probably could incorporate into a Nutshell form. So someone who fills it out could actually choose that, and we just take care of that automatically. So today you could accomplish that with a custom field or a tag that might say this contact prefers text or this contact prefers email. So you could do that with a custom field. That would rely on your sales team interpreting that correctly. And as far as notifications go, nothing automated at the moment, although some of our other products could fit really well with this. So one feature that we launched last year is Nutshell Scheduler, where you can accept meetings on your website and have your prospects see your calendar, book a time that's convenient for them. It automatically syncs to your calendar via email, via calendar sync. It's a great tool. Our team uses it every day, books dozens of meetings that way. I could see that being a real SMS being a useful tool in that system to sort of use a text confirmation rather than email confirmation, but it's not there yet.
Great. This one's from Jordan, and this question came in right around when we were talking about SMS automation the first time, so I'm going to assume it relates to SMS automation. And it essentially was, can we customize these threads that they're getting? And I think the video and you covered this pretty well, but essentially, yes, if it's in your sales pipeline, you'll be able to send whatever message you would like at that moment in time from via automation from the pipeline, if I'm understanding that correctly, Andy.
That's right, and we didn't go into the details in the video, but we some of the merge fields, those are sort of the little short codes where you might sub in an email, a prospect's first name or something like that. Those are available in those text automations. So you could say, hi Jeff or hi Jane, and automatically incorporate that into that automated message there.
Great. This next one's from Angela. Can you create groups so that certain groups can see text? In nutshell, we call these teams. Does that work from a team view perspective, Andy?
That's actually a good question. I don't believe that a thread can be assigned to a team currently. I think that threads are only assigned to individuals. That's a use case we'd be interested in hearing more about. At the moment, though, I'm 99% sure that threads are connected to individuals. So there's a single responsible individual associated with each thread inside of Nutshell. And if you want your team to be able to, maybe participate in the same thread together, as long as they're an admin in Nutshell, they will be able to do that. So I mentioned Jared and Victoria on our own sales team. Jared and Victoria are both admins in our account. They could both sort of cover for one another in a text thread.
From Jonathan, how are you notified? Is this via email? I assume this works just like the other notifications in Nutshell. You can head into your settings and decide which notifications you want to receive and how you'd like to receive them. I know I log in a couple times a day and I'll get notifications in my sidebar that I can just see there. I can also opt in to get them as an email, or if you're using the Nutshell mobile app, you could also get them as mobile notifications too. Is there any other way that you receive those notifications?
Nope, that's exactly right. It's sort of our guess is that if you're a sales rep working at your computer all day, you're going to be using those in-app notifications and jump straight to the SMS tab and draw your attention over there without even leaving Nutshell. And to sort of spoil a little bit about some upcoming development, we're going to be making those better so that they can get your attention. They can pop up in the tab. You'll get a little ping, and so yes, the short answer is it uses Nutshell's existing notification system of email, in-app, and mobile notifications.
Awesome. Combining two questions here in this next one, you somewhat answered one of them already, but there was a question of can we port in a phone number? And then there was another one, can we have multiple phone numbers for individual sales reps on a team? And I think you somewhat already answered that second question.
Yeah, the second part of the question is, for now, our objective is to not have multiple phone numbers for team, and to design that in a way that it's really a feature. This way, as your team comes and goes, you don't need to redistribute phone numbers and redistribute who's going to cover for so and so's number while they're on vacation. This way, there's a central singular number that's your contact for your entire company, and you can manage who's sitting behind that number inside of Nutshell. So that sort of single phone number is by design at the moment. In terms of porting in, one piece is never going to be possible, unfortunately. One thing that is just flat out impossible is to use your own mobile number with texting in Nutshell. And this is sort of the carriers have decided that the number that you have attached to your existing cell phone, you can't use that. You can't text from that number unless you actually have your cell phone in front of you. So, and that's a little bit different than from how our click-to-call capability works. So as it stands now, I can make a phone call using our click-to-call capability and have the caller ID show up as my cell phone. If I make the call from the Nutshell application and someone returns it, it goes to my cell phone. Unfortunately, I can't text from my cell phone number, and that's a limitation by design that the US carriers have put into place. In terms of maybe porting in your company's existing number, that's not something we've explored too much. I keep referring to our infrastructure provider, and it's kind of no big secret that the big infrastructure provider that most companies like ours use is Twilio. So if that is a possibility with Twilio, our infrastructure provider, it's definitely something that we could take a look at.
Great. This next question is really short, but I think I know what it pertains to. The question is Twitter. And I think this came in around when you were foreshadowing to some other areas that we may be able to message from, like including WhatsApp. So would you like to open the curtain a little bit to what's in the future with something like a Twitter?
Yeah, I don't know if Twitter has opened their sort of DM infrastructure to the world via API. I believe that they have, but certainly systems like Google Business Chat and Meta's sort of Instagram chat and Facebook chat. There's plenty of ways that your customers can message you that aren't through texting, but are still through sort of text form. And we would like to be there. Like I said at the beginning, we want to be where you work. And so if you are frequently hearing from your prospects via your Instagram advertising, which is turning into threads in there, we want those to come into Nutshell. And I think that WhatsApp is probably the first area that we explore, but it might be that Facebook and what's possible there is where we go to.
And I think we should probably call it X as it's referred to now.
Yes. How silly of me.
This next one's from Jordan. What if you text the wrong number? Say someone fills out a form. I do it all the time. I put in the wrong last digit. Does that affect like your ability to continue to send text messages?
Not directly, no. Like I said, we want to be good citizens, and if you're sending messages that cause too many sort of red flags, that is an issue. But if you're sort of fat fingering an incorrect number, that's no big issue. So what will happen in Nutshell today, if you text a number that can't receive a text message, maybe you accidentally just try to text someone on their business landline, Nutshell's going to tell you that the text can't be delivered, and you'll have the option to start a thread maybe to another phone number. So that's how we handle those.
Awesome. I'm scrolling back down to some new messages. I think we somewhat answered this already in what's to come in Nutshell, but from Francois, can we have customers contact us via the SMS number, or is it only one way? In the future, we're working on the customer or the lead being able to start that thread with us as opposed to us always starting that. That was answered in what's to come.
That's right. And I should clarify that, that's really about the first message. So today in Nutshell, threads start with the sales rep, right? You initiate that first outreach, or maybe it happens in the sales pipeline. But the response from your prospects, they respond to you, that number lands in Nutshell, those two-way conversations. And truthfully, that is what, a key distinction from a lot of our competition. There are a handful of CRM competitors that allow you to send text messages in mass. And some of our customers have even integrated with tools that allow you to send text messages in mass. Our view is if you are just sort of pushing messages out to the world and you're not responding to not letting your customers respond to you, you've kind of started off on the wrong foot here. So this is why we think that two-way capability for texting is really important. And as you alluded to, Will, yep, next on the list is actually being able to have the customer start the conversation from a number on the website.
Awesome. Another great question from Jonathan. Can we prevent people from calling these SMS numbers, put in a disclosure that they're text only, non-audio, et cetera?
That's a good question, and that's something that we've heard some early feedback from. So we have a bit of a workaround that we've offered for some of our customers where we can actually sort of redirect those phone calls to your business's landline, and we're going to open up that capability so that you can say if someone does make a call back to that number, it does make it maybe back to your cell phone or back to your company's landline. So we can do a sort of temporary fix for now, and we're going to add that capability to the product.
Awesome. Another question from Mark here that I'm going to summarize and kind of tee you up for what's to come that I'm aware of, Andy, is can someone become, like, when this is more so available as a marketing tool as opposed to a sales tool, which is in our plans, is that enrollment process or cost or anything going to be different than what it is currently just for the sales one-to-one text messaging?
Yes. So I think, the way that this is priced today is, this is designed for a tool to be used by your sales team. When we add SMS capabilities for marketing outreach, that will use all of the same infrastructure here, your same enrollment, the same phone number that you're texting from will remain the same inside of Nutshell. In terms of how we sort of organize that and price that, what will change is, if that will then change to a usage-based pricing system. So if you are a business that needs to send, 50,000 text messages a month, that's going to be more expensive than, the 150 that we include here with Nutshell SMS today. So the capabilities will work the same. How we price it will be based on volume for marketing.
Cool. And you're talking about price, and I see a few people bringing up price and cost in here. I know we did an extensive review of some other people that offer this, some CRMs that offer this. How do we end up landing on this price of $16 per user to include 150 messages per person?
Yeah, we think this is really competitively priced when it comes to other products out there. There are more costs associated with this capability than typical sort of CRM capabilities that we offer. Google doesn't charge us to sync in emails, but unfortunately there are fees associated with phone numbers and actually sending text messages onto the carrier network. So we're doing our best to make sure we're not going to lose our shirt and that we can continue to offer this service. And I guess what I would say is to $16 a month, you know what you pay your sales team, you know what you pay your your account managers. This is a very small part of what a typical sort of phone plan would offer, and hopefully we can get to a point where this is able to sort of offset and replace systems like Ring Central and CallRail and maybe the other tools that you're sort of pulling off the shelf to give your team ways of getting in touch with prospects. And I guess I would say that for $16 a month, being able to win one more sale is probably worth it for almost any business.
Cool. Another question from Barry: will the mobile app give access to these new text functions?
Not yet. That is something that we are actively investigating. The inbox that we were showing off that Jewel walked us through earlier does work on mobile devices, and we're going to make sure that we continue to make that usable for customers that want to reply to an SMS in line at Target. As it stands today, though, this is launched in our web app.
Awesome. And I guess to address one of Mark's last year questions here too, what is the actual advantage of using this versus sending via your regular phone and adding the notes to Nutshell? I guess if you could summarize it into a few sentences, what's the advantage of Nutshell SMS?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is it comes back to the Nutshell timeline, right? The timeline is what sort of covers your entire relationship with a prospect, whether it's them emailing you, you having a meeting on your calendar, the note that they fill out in a form on your website, the internal note that you left behind. We want those Nutshell timelines that represent your entire history with a prospect, from the first time you heard about them to closing a deal. Having that entire history of what the conversation was and who said what to whom, especially for a business that has maybe large ticket sales, longer sales cycles, you might be developing a prospect for a deal that takes months. And being able to see, hey, this was a text message that we traded 2 months ago where we talked budget or they mentioned a key decision maker, having all of that information inside of one place rather than needing to open up your iPhone and find the text thread, that's the biggest advantage here. And I would say the second advantage is in the same pane of glass where you are sort of working the lead, figuring out what's your next follow-up, to be able to fire off a text message at the same time you might fire off an email or to reach out in any other sort of way, schedule a meeting, being able to do all of that from one place. That's why we think it's so important here. We want Nutshell to be where you work and how you work.
I can agree. As someone relatively new to the CRM world, getting to understand how to use the CRM better as a centralized location has definitely improved my abilities as the marketing director for Nutshell. Don't send too many text messages, but I definitely like being able to do all my work in one place.
Will, I wanted to, I don't know if maybe we even have a plant here. I think it might be a real question though. So someone asked about how we're using AI inside of Nutshell, and I'm going to tie that back to the question I just answered here. Like I said, the timeline is meant to be a full comprehensive representation of your entire history with a prospect. And one of the things that Nutshell can do with timelines is summarize that full history, right? So from the first email that they sent to you to a long thread where you went back and forth. Sometimes I know I'll pull open a prospect that one of our sales team has been working for a couple of months, and you just don't even know how to get your bearings on what's the history of this lead. So one of the capabilities that starts in our Nutshell business plan, and in fact we give a little taste of it in our other tiers as well, is a timeline summarization. So you hit a button, Nutshell tells you, it distills that timeline into a quick summary. With having content from your text messages in the timeline, the content of those text messages is also incorporated in those AI summarization. So that's one area that we've been investing in AI inside of Nutshell. It's not where we're going to stop, but that's one that I've personally seen a lot of benefit from. Oh, and Will just disappeared on me, leaving me on stage. There you are. There, you're back.
Wi-Fi issues. I was waiting to jump in and say too, that is a feature that's available in some of our higher CRM tiers, but anybody has the ability to test that out a couple times per month just to see what it is like. I have personally used that, and I do agree that that is a cool feature to use in Nutshell. And then we have one more question I want to cover here just before we get to our final slides. Jonathan mentioned, is there an issue with including a URL link in the text messages? I know that's part of the enrollment process too.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's no issue with that. It is something that is given a little bit more scrutiny by cell phone carriers. If you're just sending a random link to a bunch of people, they might think that you are, sending phishing links or spam or something like that. So when you enroll and tell Nutshell and tell our infrastructure provider about your campaigns, they're going to ask for what types of links you might be including and give those some extra scrutiny. But that's a great way to provide more information through a text. What I wouldn't do is send a first message to a prospect with just a link inside of it. That's probably not going to be effective anyway. But say you are having a conversation with someone and you want to send them a link to a form on your website, or maybe you want to send them a link to your Nutshell scheduler, pricing information. That links work totally fine there, and that's a great way of using that medium.
Awesome. And Stephanie, I'm going to get you in here one last time. Currently, this is available just in the US and Canada. Andy mentioned earlier in the webinar that we're going to test it out here first, learn a couple lessons, and then hopefully expand it worldwide from there. So just to promote some of the other webinars that we do offer, we have a monthly support-led podcast or webinar. It's the fourth Wednesday of every month at noon Eastern. Once you register for it, you can always receive the updates for the next month. And what these are is essential refreshers of some of the Nutshell basics that if you can master these, you can get a lot out of the value of that Nutshell provides for the cost that you pay for Nutshell. You can register that. It's on our website. If you go to our resources, you can see demos there and sign up for it there. We'll also send out this PDF. You'll be able to click on that link in that PDF. So the next one's at the end of the month here. And then again, thank you for joining us today. Just to bump up some other recent updates, we released multiple attendees for schedulers. So if you were able to schedule a one-on-one message, that person can now add more attendees to meet with you. We also added custom fields description. This was actually someone on my team requested this because there's a lot of custom fields in our Nutshell account, and we don't know what a lot of them mean. So now you can actually add a description so you know when to use that custom field. You can now log an activity in Nutshell with a Zapier connection, just another pump up to our app marketplace where we have over 50 apps that you can connect Nutshell to via Zapier. We also have the custom domains that you can now use for your forms, schedule links, and marketing email addresses. We've updated our REST API documentation. Andy, I believe that's available as a link in the app and from our website.
Developers.nutshell.com.
And then another one for the marketers on this webinar, this is another one you can thank my team members for. We create a lot of marketing emails that we send out to you, our shipping news, our nuts and bolts email that goes out every single month. We can now create templates and save them for future use for drip campaigns, for broadcast and newsletters as well. So just another way that you can be more efficient on the marketing side of Nutshell. And then coming up, we have our marketing dashboard that is now launched, I believe, not really upcoming anymore. If you head into the marketing section of Nutshell, if you have access from your admin there, you can see a refreshed look of all of the marketing features we have in Nutshell and be able to provide you some top level value and some quick scanning of how things are working from how you're using Nutshell for marketing. And then Nutshell web chat. This is where Andy was mentioning more of the list the text message on your website and also be able to have that person start that conversation on the website itself and be able to chat with your sales team, your support team, your success team, et cetera, et cetera. And you can keep up to date with all of our releases. We do have our shipping news that sends out every single month. That is kind of a wrap up of everything we've completed and rolled out into the product, whether it's brand new like SMS or just a feature update like our marketing dashboard. You can also sign up for that if you go to our website. We have links all over the place that you can sign up for our shipping news there, or just view our products updates page, find it in our resources, and then product updates in our Make a Nav menu. So thank you for everybody joining us today. I know we're a little over time. We're excited for everyone to be able to use Nutshell SMS. And Andy, thanks for joining us to give us a little bit more under the hood of Nutshell SMS as well.
This was a blast. It was great to hear from everyone. I'll say it one more time. We really appreciate your feedback, your ideas. That's how we steer our product and make it better. And so we want to keep those channels open. And thanks to everyone for joining today.
Awesome. See you, everybody.